Hey guys, I'm coming on here to actually answer a few questions to some comments that I received on the last video about interracial dating. Some people had in the comments, and you may not see them because, as you can tell, it's probably no surprise that I decided to moderate the comments to offset the number of white supremacists that think they're just going to control the channel. That's not going to happen. You're not going to troll. You're not going to put ignorant comments on my videos. It's just not going to happen. So I moderate the comments. But within going through and approving comments, a couple people had some questions about how I feel that by black people dating interracial, they are dating their oppressors, excuse me, and actually perpetuating their own oppression. And I do really believe this. To me, it makes absolutely no sense that we as black people can look at the news nearly on an everyday basis. We see unarmed black men, women, and children being murdered and slaughtered like animals. We see that there's literally a war being waged against us, and yet there are still black people that will go look to those very same people to find love and relationships. And to me, that doesn't even make any logical sense. So a couple people wanted me to explain that. I'm not going to explain that on a comment. It's actually better for me to explain it with a video. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple bullet points and examples for the people that needed them. I would think reality should have been able to answer this question for them. However, it wasn't. So that's fine. Some people need additional explanations given, and I don't mind doing that. So also, I do want to start though by, this is just a message to the black men specifically, that I've gotten, some comments about my perspective being biased, more in favor of black women and more against black men. Here's the thing. Whoever you choose to date and have sex with or give your spiritual energy to, because that's essentially what you're doing, that is entirely up to you. The only thing I can do is present my perspective of what's going on and give you my opinion on it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't even have to think that it's right. You can adamantly protest it if that's what you choose to do. It's not going to change my perspective, however. So the thing of it is if I mention black men mostly more, and if I look over to the right, that's because I'm reading off of some notes on my computer. Now, if I mention black men more so than black women, it's because statistically black men date white women at a disproportionately higher rate than black women date white men. That is just, you can just look up the statistics. You can see that even the current interracial marriage rate is saying that 86% of black men are married to black women, whereas 94% of black women who are married to black men. So that right there shows that black men, you are dating white women and marrying white women and having sex with white women at a higher rate than black women are with white men or any other race of men. So that's why I gear this mostly and specifically toward you, because you are doing it more than black women are doing it. If you're doing it more, why would I treat it as equal when you're contributing into it more with your habits? That means that you are perpetuating your own oppression by interracial dating more so than black women are. And so that's why I'm gearing it, saying it specifically more towards you. In addition to that, the men having a certain mind frame, in reality, and you can disagree with it, but in reality, especially when it comes to war tactics, the man and his position and mindset is far more important than the women. And if you disagree, then you are simply saying that as it pertains to a war tactic, and I truly believe that white supremacy is waging a war against black bodies. That's just really what it is. So, as it pertains to a war, if you're saying that it's equal between black women and black men, then you are saying that your enemy perceives a woman to be the same threat as a man. And that's simply illogical and not true. So, that's why I'm saying this to black men specifically. Also, a lot of black men have said that dating a white woman isn't as bad as dating or marrying a white man. You can say that, but it's literally the exact same, if not worse, actually. Newsflash, black men. Yes, white men were slaving you and hanging you. However, white women weren't fighting the white man to end your slavery. She was standing by her white man's side. She was supporting him through your oppression and subjugation. That is a fact. The white men may have been torturing, hanging, and cutting your dick off for enjoyment, but it was the white woman's lie of you raping her or looking at her or even glancing her way that caused you to be strung up on the tree to begin with. And again, even when this was happening, she was not there fighting for you to be let free. She was there co-signing it. So it's literally the exact same thing. Dating a white woman just because you perceive the white man's actions to be worse, that doesn't matter. In reality, she's supporting him in doing it. She is not fighting for your freedom. She's not giving up her white privilege for you. She's not even contesting white supremacy on your behalf. She is co-signing it. Therefore, she is just as guilty as her man. You are not doing anything less than a black woman that dates a white man. Now, the false rape allegations are currently still happening. Okay, white women are the ones that are birthing and raising the white male race soldiers that are actually oppressing and killing black men, women, and children. They're birthing them. And I don't care what you say, the bottom line of it is, women, when it comes to child raising and the belief system and constructing that, women have far more control over that than men do. Because women are primary caregivers of children, men are not. Men are there basically co-signing and supporting the woman in raising it and backing him up. But you can best believe if a white man has a white supremacist mindset, it is because that white woman that raised him to have a white supremacist mindset. So you can't sit there and think that white men are white supremacists and racism, but then exempt the white woman. You literally would be a fool to do that. And the fact that you are doing that is probably why your white supremacist male counterpart is actually feeling like it's more of a benefit to him that you're dating white women, and that's why he's allowing you to, because she tends to change your perspective as women naturally do. They will influence the belief system of their man and their children. Now, the thing of it is, white women were also the ones that were killing the half-black children that were born as a result to the white man raping the black women when they were on the plantation. So the white women are just as bad, if not worse, than the white man. The white woman is the mother of white supremacy and your oppression. And if you do not see this, then it's just sad for you. It's a sad day for you. But anyways, I'm going to go through these, and I'm going to try to do these as quickly as possible for the sake of not having this video be this long. So these are some ways that I believe that interracial dating is actually contributing to the oppression of black people. Now, number one, black people are still at the bottom of the economic scale as a result to systematic racism that was created by white people, okay? No one else created institutional and systemic racism but white people, okay? Even in 2016, black people are still at the bottom of the economic and social totem pole as a result to this system that was created and that is still perpetuated and maintained by white people. Black people, specifically black men, are the least likely to be CEOs and executives of companies. This is not because they lack the intellectual ability, but because we live in a system called white supremacy designed to keep black men at the bottom and black people in general at the bottom and keep white people at the top. That's number one. Number two, the civil rights movement ended less than 50 years ago, meaning the grand and great grandparents of the white men and women that black people are out there dating, marrying, and having sex with, literally, they're literally those people were lynching, raping, and murdering the great-grandparents and the grandparents of the black people that are dating the white people today. That's literally how it is. You can sit there and dispute it. However, 50 years ago is recent, okay? The civil rights movement and segregation hasn't even been ended and abolished for a good 50 years. So we're talking in the higher range of 40 years, this stuff was going on. So that literally means the white peoples, if you have a 30-year-old white person, which I'm 30s, in my 30s, if you have a white person in their 30s dating a black person in their 30s, that means that white person's grandparents and great-grandparents were active in perpetuating white supremacy during the civil rights movement. They may not admit to it, but they probably were some of the same people that would have been willing to kill your black grand and great-grandparents, rape your great and great-parents, lynch your great and great-grandparents, and murdering them. For whatever reason they deemed necessary. They would have been the same ones participating and cutting off the dicks of your great-grandparents and grandparents and putting them in the windows as souvenirs. So you are literally dating the offspring of the civil rights movement oppressors. That is what you're doing. You are literally dating the offspring of the lynch mobs that was going after your grandparents and great-grandparents, black people. So that's number two, how you're contributing to your own oppression. Because if you think for a minute that the fact that racism isn't perpetuated by a belief system that was passed down from generation to generation, then you're silly and you're fooling yourself. These people have the same mentality. When you don't think there's anything wrong with your mentality, then you would obviously continue that mentality and you would teach it to your children like a religion. Number three, we still live in a society that defends and promotes the oppression of black people. This is just a fact. There are tons of young white people that are directly against the Black Lives Matter movement and against any black empowerment movement. They are the same ones that will try to convince you that the Black Panthers were a terrorist group, when in fact they weren't. They were the counter to the actual terrorist group called the KKK. So these are the mentalities of a lot of the white people that you guys are dating. They do not want you engaging in the Black Lives Matter movement. They think black empowerment is a bad thing. They think that unless you are in a position that is under them, then you are asking to be treated better than them, despite the fact that you're asking for fair treatment. So these people actually attack people who are speaking out against racism more so than they attack the system of racism in itself. In essence, black people see a reality in which they're been victimized by a system of white supremacy, and white people live in a reality that gives them complete privilege, but they'll deny that black people are oppressed by the same system that they continue to benefit from. So, despite being in a relationship with black people, they still have this mindset. White people will deny that the system exists. Generally, both young white men and women deny that there is a system of white supremacy, and you can't work to change anything that doesn't exist to you. So, therefore, if the one that you're dating doesn't even think you're being oppressed, they're not going to do anything to stop your oppression. Although they can literally turn on the news and see that you're being oppressed, they can do research and see that you're being oppressed. They will deny facts. I put out tons of facts. I put out tons of articles. They will deny this to believe that there is no system of white supremacy. So they're definitely not going to do anything to abolish it. They're definitely not going to do anything to try to make sure you're not oppressed by it, because to them it doesn't even exist. And you know what, when you're having sex with them, then you're convincing them that it doesn't either. Now, many white people, and this is number 4, many white people in interracial relationships have literally supported the killers of black people, such as Trayvon Martin and Tamir Rice. These people and killers are not becoming millionaires overnight because no one's supporting them. They are being millionaires overnight, literally being rewarded for killing your people based off the support of white people my age too. And if you think that they're not, and if you think that these are some 70, 80-year-old conservative right-wing racists that are only supporting them, you are fooling yourself. You really are. But however, these same white people that you're dating are the ones that aided killers like Darren Wilson, Daniel Pantaleo, and obtaining wealth as a result for killing black unarmed people. So you're literally dating someone that is actually paying for your subjugation. That's what you're doing. Now, number 5, having sex with and dating white people actually leads white people to think that racism doesn't exist. And rationally so. Why would they? Any person with logic would conclude that there's no way a group of people could be suffering as a result to racism and oppression, complaining about racism racism and oppression, seeing unarmed black men and women and children being harassed and killed and targeted in the news on a daily basis, and still simultaneously date the very group of people that they're complaining about. Like, literally, to any logical person, if you are dating, having sex with, and marrying white people, then racism must not be a problem. Because that's the only thing that's going to make sense. If racism is still a problem, then why are you doing it? Why are you looking to the people that are inflicting the racism on you as a love mate and a helpmate? It doesn't make any sense why you would still be doing that if racism isn't really a big problem. So you actually are convincing white people when you date them that racism isn't a problem. Because if it is, then why are you dating them? That's what you need to ask. If you feel like these same group of people are the ones subjugating you, then why are you dating them and marrying them and looking to them for love? That doesn't make any sense. So by you doing that, your actions are telling them that you don't really feel like we have that big of a problem with racism. You can't possibly think that you dating them is going to change it, because it hasn't changed it in nearly 50 years. It didn't change it on a plantation, so why would it change it now? Now, in order for people to change, said change actually has to be incentivized, okay? Meaning, whoever is going to be implementing and carrying out this change, they need to have the motivation to do it. Because as we already know, change is actually very difficult. Most people will not change because it is very hard. Even if they really want to, change is uncomfortable. So there has to be a very big incentive that actually outweighs going through the process of change, which is difficult. Why would white people work to change the racism and oppression of black people that they created if they still to date have sex with them, marry them, gain support from them, and then use black people, all the while perpetuating and maintain white supremacy? Really, there's no motivation for them to stop it. There's only motivation for them to continue it, and that's why it's continuing. How is it that interracial dating has been going on for nearly 50 years, and yet this mixed rate love or swirling hasn't led to the death of racism? It hasn't. Hold on for a minute. Okay, now. Anyways, if white people love black people so much, why haven't that love motivated them to dismantle the system of white supremacy and injustice that they created and replace it with a system of justice? That's just what I'm asking. Because with all this love going around, why is there so much hate directed towards black people? You know, white people are having sex with black people currently. They really never stopped having sex with black people, if you think about it. They've been having sex with black people since you've been on the plantation. It didn't cure slavery, we all know that. Slavery still, despite sex, took a war to end because white people wanted it to continue, okay? And I don't care about you white people saying that, oh, white people fought to get slavery ended. No, you didn't. You fought to keep slavery in place. So stop saying that you fought to end it when you really didn't. So my thing is, why do you guys think that if sex with black people did not get you out of slavery, that somehow it's going to cure racism when it's really not going to? The greatest evil, literally, that has attributed to all the downfall of the black community is still alive, well, and it's successful. But despite that, black people are still having sex with, marrying, dating white people. So why doesn't the white privilege that white people have extend to the black people and their half black children that they claim to love? Why is it that even despite the fact that white people love these black people, there's still no black privilege? Their white privilege still does not extend to black people. It's not stopping anything. So that's what I'm asking. Why haven't the white people that love and marry black people worked as hard to destroy white supremacy as they have to maintain it? That's my thing. Ignoring the existence, literally, and the overwhelming evidence that we live in a country that's still drowning in white racism and hate against black people is the same as actively engaging in white racism and hate against black people. Because again, if you don't even believe that it exists, you're not going to work to dismantle it. Now, this is going to be the final time I'm going to say this, because people tend to act like they just can't see reality. Interracial dating hasn't, and it's not going to, change the system of white supremacy. It's not going to. If it was, there would be no system, because again, white people have been having sex with black people since you've been on the plantation. It didn't stop it then. It's not going to stop it now. The problem is black people's low self-esteem, which at this point, I'm really thinking that animals have higher self-esteem than black people. Really, because you can't go as a human and attack a dog and think that that dog is still going to be on your side. That dog no longer cares about you. You are an enemy to that dog because you did something to harm that dog. That dog, you're not gaining the trust of it anymore. After you beat it and brutalize it, you can best believe you and that dog are enemies. That dog is not going to start seeking you out, and it may not even seek out other humans and trust other humans just because of what that one human did. So my thing is that why is it that animals know the concept of not going to and entrusting the people that are oppressing you to love you, but black people don't know this? It's like every interaction that black people have hinges on getting white people to like them. It doesn't make any sense to me. And the reason why I say them in this instance is because I couldn't care less about a white approval. Really, the best thing you can do for me is leave me alone. That's the best thing you can do, is act like I don't even exist. So I don't need you to date me. I don't need you to like me. I don't need you to talk to me. I prefer that you don't. So for the ones who actually want the approval, which this is what most of you are dating for, is to get that approval, then yeah, you are different than me. So I'm going to say them, and I'm not going to include me in it. I'm not going to say we, because I don't have that mentality. So the low self-esteem is the problem. Stop looking to the very people that hate you to love you and accept you. If it hasn't happened, it's not going to happen. The only thing that's going to offset it is if you start loving yourself and valuing yourself and stop looking to the people who have given you no reason to think that they love you or value you. Stop looking for them to validate you. The bottom line of it is that you need to validate yourself. You need to show that you have importance and love for yourself. And the minute that you do that, you'll start building naturally so that you won't even need to sit here and gain acceptance or ask them for anything, because you'll just be building it with yourself. The problem is the low self-esteem, because if we didn't have the low self-esteem and if the self-love was flourishing more, I wouldn't have to explain any of this, because you would already be able to see it. Your low self-esteem is why you can't see it. Your low self-esteem is why you have to keep campaigning for something that's simply just not working. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. If this doesn't explain it, I'm not explaining it any further to anyone else. So if you don't have it after this, then me, I can repeat it 500 million times and you still won't have it. So like, comment, and subscribe and share.